Our most gracious Heavenly Father, we are thankful to be here tonight, but our hearts are heavy over the loss of two of our city family's members, Joe Colombo's mother, who's passed, and Mike Gomez's brother-in-law, who passed away a couple days ago. Father, I just ask that you'll be with both families, with the Rodriguez family and the Gomez family and the Colombos during this time of trial and tribulation for them. And Father, a very special lady that we know and love, Mary, is in the hospital tonight, and I ask a special blessing on her. She's a very dedicated person in this community, and I just ask that you will help the doctors to find out what is wrong with her. Father, there's some things on the council meeting tonight that are going to need decisions, and I just ask that everything be done according to your will and be done with calm hearts and calm spirits and calm minds. We do thank you for giving us this avenue to come to with any situations or problems we have. We thank you for this council. We thank you for the staff that is so dedicated to the community. We just ask that you keep your watch care over us and your loving arms around us. Amen.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Hickerman.
Here.
Councilmember Farfan.
Here.
Councilmember Gomez. Mayor Pro Tem Schultz.
Here.
Mayor Canada.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Okay, this evening, we have no presentations or proclamations. Oral communication, items on and not on agenda. This is the time reserved for members of the public wishing to speak on items on and not on agenda. This period will be limited to 3 minutes per speaker. Maximum time allocated is 15 minutes. Upon conclusion of oral communications, the city council or city staff, at the direction of the mayor, may respond to any questions or statements that were presented by members of the public. The city council is prohibited by law from taking any action on items presented during oral communications.
Reynaldo Rodriguez, 21402 Juan Avenue. I was looking at the agenda, and under the council action, item C6, there is Mr. Colombo requested a consideration of a grievance. I ask you, how can a development director file a grievance against the city council? Because you are at the very top. There's only one other member, which is Mr. Ernesto Marquez, our city administrator. And who does he work for? You, the city council, mayor and the city council. Mr. Colombo has one of the highest positions in the city, the development director. Plus, he also has the highest position in the union in the city. I don't understand how a city can function that way, or any corporation could function that way with this type of situation. So, by actuality, he runs the city because he's got control of all the employees, he's got control of all the development, and there's only one man in between him and you, and that's Mr. Ernesto. And one against everybody is not what you call a fair situation. Now, this is one of the reasons that this man has been abusive, arrogant against a lot of our residents here. You will be receiving in the future some of the complaints, some of the things that's going on by this man. So I think he eventually will be one of the persons who will bring this city up in the limelight or down. Also, you should consideration on this union agreement that or the union contract that right now you're under. You should make anybody on the management level, non-union. That would make a fair, not only to the city, but to the rest of the employees. Because the employees, who can they file a grievance? They can't file a grievance of any management, because they're also part of the union. So it's a situation that is not normal in any type of business. Big, huge corporations like the IAM, units like the IAM and the UAW and the Teamsters and that is not, doesn't happen. We also have a committee started. We have over 30 members right now. And we would like to see a copy of the proposed contract that the union is asking the city. And also this grievance that we're talking about in this agenda. By the way, I did not get the information that I had requested a meeting ago and the meeting before that. And I don't know why, under the Freedom of Information Act, you're supposed, if somebody in the city or a resident or citizen request that information, we supposed to get it. So I asked information on the $10,000, $5,000, $3,000 grants, who were the recipients in the last couple of years. Well, now I think it would be better if I got it for the last 3 years. And if we don't get the information, then we're ready to go to the county or state or federal to get this information. The update on the construction of the library on the agenda, item C3, it says that the library started in early February, but it does not say what year. And it's supposed to be completed by the end of this month, or September the 30th. How long has that construction been going on? The report also states that problems that the building has, such as substandard construction, roof reconstruction due to rust under the air conditioning systems, a bootleg monument sign, rat infestation, and the list goes on and on. What I want to know, what happened to our code enforcers or our inspectors at the time before you bought the building? Didn't anybody go there to look at it and see what was needed, what was wrong with it? And forcing Mr. Parks under eminent domain to sell. And so I took the liberty of calling Mr. Parks to see actually how much he got paid for the property. He said that he could not discuss anything about that because there was a settlement out of court. So what is the actual price that we paid for that land, that property and building? If it's secret, is the price that is listed on the agenda there, is that the actual price? And the amount of money we have spent on that, over $7 million, almost $8 million, we could have had a building the size of the bingo new building for the same price or less. So this library fiasco is what it is. There was so much money wasted on that, or so much money spent. Also, Madam Mayor and council members, have you ever checked the receipts of the amount of money already paid to the contractors and subcontractors for the construction items that are listed on this report? Does anybody have actually seen it with their own eyes, have investigated or looked at it? You actually paid $214,000 for construction management and inspection? $214,000? So I would also like to say that some of you council members try to tell the people in this community and outside politicians when you go to your regular little seminars and stuff. What a wonderful job Mr. Colombo is doing out here. Well, if you look at what's been happening, and this is just one problem here, the library. There's other problems that I don't know if you know or you don't know, but you will find out sooner or later when I bring him up.
Mr. Rodriguez, can you
Yes.
please finish with your
You mean my 3
comments.
minutes are up? Is that what
Yeah.
you're saying? Okay, I'll continue on the next agenda then, if you don't mind.
Okay. Is there no one else who would like to come up and speak?
Are we right in assuming that when we get to the item, in regard to the grievance, that's when we speak under that particular item? My name is Pete Schnaufer. I'm a business agent for AFSMI.
Okay. Yes, we'll wait till.
Thank you.
Okay.
Hi, my name's Glenn Cornejo, 12334 212th Street, Hawaiian Gardens, California. Just like to remind you that the CERTS Community Emergency Response Team has been canceled. So if those of you were still looking around to try to find the CERTS team, it's been canceled and they're going to give us a new date. But for right now, I have everybody that signed up, their information. So if you still want to sign up, I still got 10 openings because we have 10 now signed up. So the max is 20. So if you're interested in participating, giving back to the community, the CERTS program, the community emergency response team will be continued probably by next month. So hopefully I'll be getting another flyer or a letter. But yeah, it's been canceled. Thank you.
Glenn, has
Yes.
it been canceled because of lack of participation?
Yes, yeah, on their part, not
Right.
us, on their part. Yes,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you. Okay, seeing no one else, we'll go to public hearing. No public hearing at this time. B, resolution, B1, adopt resolution number 081-2008 to establish the City of Hawaiian Gardens Community Pride Beautification Award Program. Staff report, please.
Yes, Honorable Mayor and members of the City Council, if you recall at the July 22nd, 2008 City Council meeting, the City Council had expressed an interest in establishing the Community Pride Beautification Program, and therefore we have established a committee composed of 2 council members. It was Councilmember Victor Farfan and Councilmember Mike Gomez. As a result of that committee, we're able to come up with some guidelines that are attached for your review and approval. Basically, the way the program will work is that we'll have to have residents nominate properties that are aesthetically pleasing, properties that have been maintained, properties that meet certain guidelines to show the community that we are trying to clean up the community and reward those people that are enhancing the community so that we can create a better place to live and work in. We've created some just basic guidelines where we've categorized this program into 4 sections. For award purposes, we would have single-family residence as 1 award, and there'll be a first, second, and third place. There'll be a multifamily residence, first, second, and third as well, and then you'll have the mobile home park and the commercial, similar to the first 2. They had suggested that we would award $100 for the first place. I believe it was $50 for the second place and $25 for the third place. Hopefully, we'll be able to get home improvement stores to contribute some gift certificates, and if not, we'll have to budget this on our own, but it won't be that expensive. They've also agreed that we would possibly be doing this once or twice a year, depending on the feedback that we get. And of course, we'll have to advertise this and create public awareness in the community so that we can make this program popular out there and get people to fix their homes and clean up their front yards. With that, basically, by approving resolution number 81-2008, you would be officially creating the Community Pride Beautification Program and approving its guidelines. At a future date, we'll come back and decide on the judging panel that'll be picked by the council. The committee had suggested that we pick members from the Planning Commission, one community at large, and one staff member. That concludes the staff report.
Joe, I'm assuming also that we would make arrangements to have a sign of some sort
Correct.
made up to place in the front of their
Correct. We've
place.
discussed that as well.
Yeah. Yeah, because it has worked in other cities.
Right.
All right, based on that, I'm going to move to waive further reading and adopt Resolution 081, 2008.
Second.
Any discussion? None?
I mean, we met and we thought this was a good plan, and it's obviously, I believe it's going to help make the committee look better and, you know, provide more of a reason for have pride in the community and really just be a benefit.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Resolution B2, adopt resolution number 082-2008 to approve pre-issue warrants and regular warrants in the amount of $775,703.07.
Move to waive further reading and adopt Resolution 082, 2008.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Heckerman?
Yes.
Councilmember Farfan?
Yes.
Councilmember Gomez?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Schultz?
Yes.
Mayor Canada?
Yes.
Motion carries.
C, discussion items. C1, presentation of minutes, August 26, 2008, regular meeting.
Move it.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Discussion item C2, consideration of a request from the Community Development Department to study traffic calming needs on Wardham Avenue. Staff report, please.
Yes, Honorable Mayor and members of the City Council, back in March 11, 2008, you had directed staff to provide additional enforcement and monitor the speeding problem that we were having on Wardham Avenue in Leeware. After instructing the Sheriff's Department to go out there and do the actual, sorry, we're close to the mic, and do the actual enforcement from a period of April 28 to June 17, actually June 17, the following are the results of their study and the number of citations that were issued. There were 22 citations issued on 221st Street and Wardham for stop sign violation, 8 citations on 223rd Street and Wardham. 8 citations were issued there for the stop sign violation. 1 citation on Bertain and Wardham for amplified music, and 7 citations for 226th Street and Wardham Avenue for a total of 39 citations. All citations were basically issued for stop sign violations. None were issued for speeding. It was the city engineer's opinion and the Sheriff's Department opinion that there was no need to do anything further there. Just repainting the lines that are out there now, just clearing out some trees that may be blocking visibility on stop signs. And if there's anything further than that they would like us to do, we can consider that, but we would have to budget monies for traffic studies. So at this time, we're just recommending that you receive and file this report and continue the enforcement, which is what both entities are recommending we continue to do.
I'm sorry, Mayor, Joe, for clarification purposes, is staff recommending that we do upgrade the stop signs with the LED lighting?
If you want to, we can do that, but there's a cost, and we'll have to
Right,
come
5 to
back with
$5,000
cost
to
estimates.
$6,000, right?
I'm sorry?
$5,000 to $6,000.
If you would like to do additional work out there, we can, but yes, you can upgrade the stop signs so that you have flashing signs.
Well, Wardham is where we have
And create more visibility out there.
that's where we have the little kids going to school over there.
And it would cost 5,000 to 6,000?
Yes, per location.
Per location, we're talking 3
Per
locations?
stop sign, right.
Per
Well,
stop sign. We have several locations. It's a north-south segment with 6 intersections. 3 of them have, 2 of them have three-way stop intersections, and one of them, or 2 of them have a knuckle, two-way intersection. So there's several stop signs there. And you got all the electrical that has to be done as well. So if you want, we can bring this back and give you a more cost estimate, a much more clear picture as to exactly what's going to cost to
Yeah.
upgrade all those intersections with the electrical and the flashing beacons and so forth.
Yeah.
And maybe some pictures, Joe, of the locations.
Correct.
Yeah.
Couldn't hurt. So I guess I'll move to, at this point, to receive and file until we get further information on it.
Second.
Just one other thing for council's information and the general public's. This was actually a request by some residents who come to City Hall requesting that we look into that. So we did follow up, and, you know, Joe's department did a good job of following through with that, so.
Okay. Any discussion?
No.
No? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Discussion 3, discussion by the Community Development Department to provide an update on the construction activity of the Library and Public Safety Center project. Staff report, please.
Yes, Honorable Mayor and members of the City Council, this report is being provided to you for a couple of purposes. One, to respond to the public records request that was made at the last council meeting, and we are providing the information. It is here outlined in the staff report, and I believe that was the cost of the land and whatnot was required in order to purchase this property. And if you look at the chart in the back of the staff report, we spent about $3,350,000 for the land acquisition. We have legal fees of $850,000. Design and pre-construction and incidental costs of $298,000, and what the City Council has approved for PCN3 contract, which is the contract that you authorized for the refurbishment of this Public Safety Center and library, was for a total of $3,393,700. So we are within the budget. As far as timelines, it was February of this year that we did start the construction, and construction should be finished around the end of September. They were supposed to have finished around August 1st, but there were several change orders. Some of them, again, as I indicated in the prior council meetings, that were due to unforeseen circumstances that you were not able to see because you're buying an existing building. You're not building a building. You're not building the building from scratch where you're able to anticipate all the issues. So there was a lot of blind areas that we were not able to anticipate, because walls are closed when you buy a building until you open them up, then you find out you got issues. So with that said, we hope that the county's able to move in here as soon as possible. Like I said, that first floor is practically done. But we are going through a massive punch list, both from the staff level, the building inspector level, the county representatives, and there's several. And so there's a big, huge punch list, and the county does not want to move in there until everything's done. Plus, they have to coordinate with the other moves that they have scheduled with the other libraries that are being refurbished throughout the county. So it's possible that they may move in there starting October, and it may take them 4 to 6 weeks to do the actual move-in. But for the most part, the first floor is done. The second floor is also on its way to be completed. What's being done right there now is the carpeting is being installed. It's also practically finished. There's not a whole lot of logistics involved with moving in the sheriff's department upstairs compared to the county, because downstairs you have a lot of equipment and you have books. And all those have to be inputted into the computer system. So with that said, we basically have done what the council has asked us to do, and we have abided by the plans and specifications. And as soon as we have a much more clear picture as to the final date, then we can have the groundbreaking ceremony and invite all the dignitaries and so forth, and we'll be working with the city administrator's office on that.
Joe, could you mention what we used to pay rent on this library?
We used to pay rent when the library used to be located over in the town center. That rent was approximately $8,000 plus and climbing. And it was climbing even more drastically because, if you remember, the shopping center had been bought out by a new property owner, and one of the first things they did is increase everybody's rents, and we were there month to month. So may take a while to recoup your costs, but there was a major benefit in doing this, and that is that the council wanted to see this library at a more visible location where there would be a much more greater use by the children, by the students, and by the public that utilizes this services. And it will do that. It's right on the main major thoroughfare. You also accomplished another task, and that is you have the computer lab. If you remember, you had a computer lab over in the recreation department, and now we have it transferred over into the second floor. And of course, you have a public safety center office, and you'll be able to expand on that over time. Right now, you have the little office right here outside, and I'm not familiar with all the logistics as far as the manpower with the sheriff's department, but you'll have a much bigger operation with public safety upstairs. So you now have a new civic building and all that, and with that comes all the maintenance and the cleaning, and so you have another building basically to take care of. But it wasn't cheap, but we knew that going into this, and everything was budgeted accordingly and per the council's direction.
Right, and just to elaborate a little more on what Joe just reported on, we knew going in it was going to be an investment. And at the time, the council did, set policy and decide and authorized us to pursue it. So, yeah, the project has exceeded maybe what our initial estimates were, but at the same time, we own the property, we're not paying rent anymore. And then we're able to offer a lot more services from that building. So, like Joe said, there's a public safety component that's going to be there. It's going to be over-the-counter type service, informational desks, and hopefully maybe later we'll also introduce maybe fingerprinting, et cetera. We have our computer lab there that will be able to provide more computer classes for our residents, or even drop-in hours for our kids to come do their homework in. So it's a great amenity, a great asset to our community, something that we haven't had, and it's something that I think we can all look forward and all be proud of. So, and it's ours.
Yeah.
And I believe at the time also we discovered that in the long run, it would probably be cheaper to go this route rather than the full construction from ground up, as we had initially intended to do.
Just for comparison purposes, and I know that the bingo was referenced to, but the bingo foundation paid over $10 million for that property. Plus, they had to knock everything down and start over again, and that's probably going to be well in the $5 million. So real estate is not cheap.
Right, and getting back to the opening, we were forewarned by the county that there was several other libraries, brand-new libraries opening, and that they would try and accommodate us. Unfortunately, because of some of the setbacks and challenges we faced with the project, we still haven't determined a set date when the county library can move in because of some of the other work that's being done. But we had a conference call last week with them, and they are expressing their interest to try and accommodate our needs as well as, of course, the other communities they serve. So we'll be working closely with them to coordinate a date, and as soon as we can estimate or pinpoint a better date for the library and public safety center grand opening, we'll make sure we let everyone know.
Well, if nothing else, it'd be a nice Christmas present for the kids. But I don't expect that to happen.
I have one question with respect to the report. Do you have the capabilities, Joe, to put this chart of the fees on the screen?
Right now, or?
Yeah, yeah, right now. No. Well, then maybe what I'd like to do is
I can make
maybe carry
copies.
this over to the next meeting where you can show this, because that was the question, costs and stuff. So we want to show it.
We can provide copies right now if they want it, but we can do that also for the next meeting.
Yeah, I just want, for the people that are here, for the people who may be watching at home, because obviously we want to be, they're showing transparency, right? We want to show everything's here, nothing's hidden. These are the costs, and this is what you're going to get. And, just so everybody has peace of mind in knowing that, this is it.
I mean, if you want me to, we can do it now, but it's going to take about 15 minutes that I can find somebody back there to put this on a computer chip. So if you want, I can.
I think if there's a consensus, we can do as Councilmember Gomez
Yeah.
directed. If there's a
Yeah.
consensus, we can just bring it back at the next meeting. And
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah,
Sounds good, Dave.
let's do that.
Well,
Yeah.
we're still gonna be ahead in the long run because it's a safer place for the kids. More facilities, more available for them, but such as the computers that they didn't have at the old place. It's a safer, much safer area than back in that corner where they were put, where they were before. And in the long run, it's gonna be cheaper for us because we're not gonna be paying $8,000 a month rent
Right.
and going up.
That's correct.
So
Yeah, well,
it's a win-win over the long haul.
because I've been to the library where it was located, and unfortunately, there are some people that actually graffitied the windows several times, and I think mainly because it was hidden in the corner.
Yep.
of
The
that.
rooms upstairs are also, they're big enough that you can also have community meetings up there. So there's several multi-purpose rooms up there. So you're gonna have multi uses out of that building.
Yeah, we'll probably redirect our neighborhood watch meetings there.
That sounds
Our
good.
task force meetings there, any other special interest meetings, that the city's involved with. Be able to.
Yeah, I think to note how important this project is if you read the papers, in the city of Long Beach, they want to temporarily close one of the libraries, and they're having an uproar from the community because it's so needed and so valuable to have these libraries open. I think they collected something like 5,800 signatures from residents, demanding that they keep it open and find other ways to cut their budget. So, it's only going to benefit. And I don't know how you put a cost on the things that it will provide for the community, for the education opportunities that the students will have there, and all the community uses. So, I guess there's a saying, it is what it is, and I guess that's what you say about the cost. It is what it is, but it's going to be a great benefit to the community.
Yeah, I agree with what Mike's saying. It's more of definitely an investment. I remember investing in an asset being the building, but not only that, investing back into the youth, of our community, for them to actually have a big library where they could go, a place that's safe for all the youth to actually study, do their homework, and not only that, but those that are interested in actually, getting on a computer, don't have a computer at home. There's a facility, it's ideal. So it is definitely difficult to put a cost on it and say, we're spending a lot of money. I understand, we're not signing over a blank checkbook, but it's a much needed, resource in the city of Hawaiian Gardens. So I'm glad that we're actually, going forward. We have a date, a close date, and I'm glad everything's coming, to a close. So it's good.
Yeah. I'm going to move to receive and file with the proviso of bringing back the item that Mike talked about at the next meeting.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Item 4, status report for the property located at 12412 Britton Street, property management, APN 7076-008-003. Staff report, please.
Yes, Honorable Mayor and members of the City Council, this item had been previously on the agenda under abatement through code enforcement, and you had authorized the city to obtain an inspection warrant so that staff could clean up the property. You had indicated that you wanted more done than just that because we've been abating this property now for the longest time, probably for the last, 5+ years, maybe even 10. This is the property catty corner from the bingo. And it's just a report from the city prosecutor's office that, I'm sorry, I got the wrong agenda item. I'm reporting on the next item. Let me start over
Wait a
then.
minute.
Or if I can continue with the other one, if you want to hear that one.
This is on Britain.
Yeah, I've got my reports flip-flopped there. You want me to start with the Bertain or the ARCO?
Just start how it's in sequence. Jim.
Yeah.
Okay. On the Bertain, this property had been extensively discussed at the last council meeting, and you only got one side of the story. You also directed staff at for this particular property as well to report back as to the status of this cleanup, and this was a property that was on the agenda back in April 22nd, and then May 13, when I had presented a PowerPoint presentation with all the junk and debris that was in the backyard. I had decided to recommend to the city council to take this property off the agenda because they were making progress, they were cooperating with staff, but yet more needed to be done. When staff had gone out there to continue to clean up the property, pretty much everything had ended there. We had given them a bin to haul away some of the stuff, and I attached a copy of the receipt for that bin to show that the city actually paid for the bin and not the homeowner. And what had happened was because the representative for the homeowner refused us to go on the property and take pictures for progress purposes, we advised them that we needed to take pictures so that we can be documenting what's happening there and also to be in conformance with the code enforcement manual adopted by this council. Since that was refused, the city prosecutor obtained an inspection warrant, and we went out there and took photos. My understanding is that the violations on the property is that the garage is being used for everything but two-car garage. Not that it's converted for habitable purposes, but there's just a bunch of junk and debris that's just being thrown in there. There's a patio that was converted to a bedroom, and as one of the biggest violations we've had on this property that's been going on for years is that they're selling vehicles on Bertain, and that's been a complaint from several residents on that street. When the property owner was brought in and to discuss these issues, we had indicated to them that we perhaps should do a property rehab through CDBG or the $10,000 rehab program. And I had indicated to them that I would also waive the city prosecution fees, which were quite substantial because we wanted to help this person out. It turned out later than I found out through my staff that they refused to participate in the rehab program. They wanted nothing to do with the city. And so I had told the officer to transfer this case back to the city prosecutor's office. This is basically a status report on this property, as you previously had instructed staff to bring it back for a status update.
Mayor, council members, I also met with the property owner, and I also offered the beautification program, and unfortunately, she just wasn't interested. But I did extend additional assistance in the way of coming back and maybe bringing her husband to meet with us, because apparently there was an issue there. But yeah, it's just we were unsuccessful in trying to help them out. But I did offer assistance in addition to them being offered assistance by Mr. Colombo's department. So.
And if they're still interested, the money's on the table.
I guess I'm going to bring up the last question on the last item. We have multiple pictures of the conditions. Now, I don't know if it's a privacy issue that we're not allowed to show them at this time, but it's just that when you bring up a question like that and you're telling us how bad it is, we have people that aren't privy to the.
We normally do put them up there, and I believe there was a public hearing held.
We did do a
we had a-
presentation. She has cleaned the property, but the stuff keeps going back and forth. There's also issues with the pigeons and cages and so forth. We're just trying to obtain compliance because we do have some concerned residences in the area that have been complaining. And there is an issue there with the vehicles that are transactions of vehicles, and it's just really hard to monitor that.
And that's the point I'm trying to make, is because, I mean, there's some accusations, I think even that were made that the city staff was overly aggressive. But then I remember the resident even mentioned that it was neighbors complaining as well. So, again, people are watching, and I think if we show the evidence, then people can see it for themselves, and they won't think that we're making things up.
I understand that there were allegations made, but I believe also the city administrator has investigated those allegations, and every step of the way there were witnesses, and those allegations, from what I understand, they're unfounded. Is that correct, Ernest?
That's correct. That's correct.
Well, so back to my question then.
Oh, about putting the pictures up?
Right. I mean, like I say, I don't know if it's a privacy issue because this is,
Right. These are older pictures. And she has cleaned up some of it. So.
well, that's the point, that's the question, then, the status.
We can show before and after pictures. You can ask us to bring this item back for progress report. Even today, I've asked my staff, are they allowing you on the property? And they said no. So I can bring it back for a status report and see where we are and show the before and after. The back is a lot cleaner than what it used to be, but you still have issues with an illegal structure that's been converted to another use. Garage, there's stuff in the garage, and we're trying to get a handle on the vehicles that are being sold.
Okay.
Mayor and council, if you like, I can make contact myself with the property owner.
Okay.
And go down there and give it another shot. I mean, we are trying to help them out. I don't think they understand that we're
Right.
trying to do that.
Well, maybe we could do a before and after PowerPoint sometime in the near future on it.
And I think we did at that council meeting.
Yeah,
We
we
did show
did the
before
PowerPoint,
and after,
yeah.
right. So I showed pictures that, what you see there, and I also showed pictures of the property being clean, but it wasn't 100% though.
Correct.
But I thought they were making enough progress, and that's why I decided to take it off.
Yeah, that's because you mentioned that they were making progress, so you decided, that not to pursue it, because they
I
were
didn't want to incur more
they were
costs.
attempting. But if they're not, then we'd like to see the evidence as well.
Yeah, because I think I remember over the years that I've been sitting here that we have done this in the past where they've made a little bit of progress and then stop after we backed off. So I think that's happened a couple of times, so.
So it's consensus with the council to bring the pictures back, the before and after, and have Mr.
progress report.
Marquez talk to
Yeah.
the owner.
Yes.
Yeah. Otherwise, receive and file the rest. It's a motion.
Second that motion.
Okay. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Status report on property located at 22021 Norwalk Boulevard. Staff report, please.
Okay, going back to the previous discussion, this also was another one of the properties that we had abated, and you had directed staff that you wanted to see more than just an abatement. So we were able to work with the sheriff's department and find the property owner, because that was a very difficult task to do, and it was only done because of cross-referencing that the sheriff's department did for us on the different names and the birth dates. But basically, the property owner has finally appeared in court and is pleading not guilty on the issue, and so the issue is being set for pretrial hearing on September 12th. So this is just a status report on what's going on with that property. Again, this is the property catty-corner to the bingo property.
Okay.
Yeah, blatant, but they're not guilty. Okay.
Okay, I need a motion.
Motion to receive and file.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Consideration of agreement filed by Joseph Colombo, Community Development Director, filed on July 17, 2008.
If I may, Madam Mayor and council. I'm on, okay. If I may, Madam Mayor and council persons, I'd like to introduce the concept or what we're going to do here tonight. This is a grievance that has been filed in accordance with the Memorandum of Understanding, the collective bargaining group agreement with the management unit of the City of Hawaiian Gardens. In a grievance, by the way, under this particular document is defined as a dispute, a difference, a controversy related to wages, hours, and working conditions. Mr. Colombo, in his grievance, cites 7 aspects that he, contends are violations that the city has committed. I'll review those with you briefly, and then we'll turn it over to Mr. Colombo and/or his representative. Mr. Colombo says that there are violations of Section 2 of the Memorandum of Understanding related to salary and compensation. Number 2, he alleges that there are violations of Section 3 of the MOU dealing with working out of class. The third one is he alleges violation of Section 15 dealing with discipline, discharge, and transfer. The fourth one is Section 17, union rights and dues deduction. The fifth area of violation is the Myers-Milius-Brown Act, and that basically is the California statute that deals with how employer-employee relations are conducted. The sixth area, it deals with harassment and discrimination. And the seventh area is all other sections of the MOU and the government code. And I do apologize, I've kind of lost my voice. But, in this particular procedure, Mr. Colombo has the burden of proof in demonstrating that the city has indeed violated these various sections. And with that, Madam Mayor, I would turn it over to Mr. Colombo and his representative to present for you for consideration the grievance.
My name is Pete Schnoffer. I'm a full-time business representative for the American Federation of State County Municipal Employees, AFL CIO. This is a surprise to us. We've had grievance meetings here a number of times, and it's never been conducted as a hearing. And if the city wishes to take that kind of approach and change things, perhaps they could give us a call on the phone. We are here to work with the city at the third level of the grievance procedure, and the city is represented by the city council because it could not be solved at the city manager's level. And the city has every right to follow the procedures that our fine attorney has laid out over the years in regard to asking questions, in regard to making statements, or in regard to deliberating in closed session. But AFSCME is not prepared to come forward in an evidentiary hearing, and the evidentiary hearing happens in arbitration.
If I may, Madam Mayor, I want to make it very clear that I am not suggesting that this is a full-blown hearing. What I am suggesting is that at this stage of the grievance, Mr. Colombo and his representative have an opportunity to present their grievance for your consideration.
Another way of saying that is that this is a settlement conference. The purpose is to reach a settlement on this matter. If you look at the collective bargaining agreement between the parties, the MOU, in Article 2, subsection B, the language says the parties agree that they wish to implement the Nash Salary Survey study and the range placements as agreed to in negotiations. And when we typed up the contract after we got a settlement 3.5 years ago, we had written simply, the parties agree that they wish to implement the range of placements as agreed to in negotiations. And the city, in its wisdom, your representative said, no, we want to make sure that we say that we're going to implement the Nash Salary Study. Because all the changes that Dr. Nash made in the job descriptions, all of them, the city wanted to make sure that they got implemented. Among other things, Dr. Nash wrote job descriptions which were to fit the job that the employee was doing. The grievant received in his job description the role and responsibility of acting in place of the city administrator when he isn't here. Word for word. The city is now saying that it wants to take a new position, and it's proposed that this new position be paid 5% under the assistant city administrator and 5% more than the community, than Joe Colombo's job. So when Ernesto's out of town, who's going to take his place? The man third on the list? Or the woman or man second on the list? It also says in our collective bargaining agreement that Mr. Colombo has the responsibility to supervise the city engineer. And what's driving this issue is the fact that the city wishes to establish a public works department, but have a public works director / city engineer. Hence the proposal for such a high salary. In the budget hearing, we attempted to give you some information in regard to why we thought this was wasteful. And we commend that discussion to you at the time. Now, if the city wishes to implement the entire Nash study, that cuts both ways. If Glenn Cornejo or Juan Serrano, our two presidents, came in and talked to Ernesto or Howard Caldwell and said, we'd like to take a particular job and get it restudied because we think they're doing more, it wouldn't be a surprise at all for the city to say, oh no, we've implemented the Nash study, why are you back knocking on our door? It cuts both ways. If we have to live with it, one would think that the city would have to live with it. Roman numeral 2, U, in the same salary section, says, all employees shall be properly classified with a title, job description, and classification which fits with their duties. We have to live with that. The city has to live with that. Mr. Colombo is properly classified. And the fine attorneys that represent your city are well aware of the fact that the city can't unilaterally take things away from AFSCME without meeting and negotiating on the matter. What we're talking about is an attempt to take Mr. Colombo's job and cut it in half. But he hasn't gone through this for just the last 4 or 5 years. And he hasn't gone through this for just the last 7 years. He's gone through that the entire time he's been here. Endlessly, somebody's chopping away at this department. So it's a constant fight to keep this department together. And guess what? More than any other department in the city, with the possible exception of recreation, is there a department that is making such a change in the face of our city? Now, our friends in Public Works would probably argue with me, and they're probably up almost to the same spot. But we're making huge strides in this city. Why would we take the engine of change that's been occurring here so dramatically and cut it in half? There's also discrimination and retaliation on this matter, but we're going to have a second person help me on our presentation, and she's going to say a word or two in all these areas. Now, you'll notice in the audience that there are an awful lot of city employees compared to normal attendance. And they're here for a very simple reason, and that is we don't want our jobs micromanaged. We don't want a situation where we can work as hard as we want and find that somebody's going to nitpick our job. So that we would have a new department head, a person that's been running the department, move down, another man, Robert Salazar, moved down even further, and then our other folks moved down even further in a virtual, vertical chain of command. As we said the last time, there are 81 employees that work for this city. It's an amazing thing that in 4 straight audits, we found that we're 81 employees again, and again. And over 30 of them are here tonight. I'm going to think about 1 or 2 employees here out of those 81. Unlike the grievance, because he filed the grievance, but they're here in support. And this grievance is backed as dramatically by rank and file as it is by the management check. What these 81 employees have found in the past 10 or 15 years is that we have modernized as a city. Hawaiian Gardens is looking great, and it's because of the 5 of you, and Leonard Chaidez and Petra and the other people that were here just 2 years ago. The city's looking great, and the city's looking great because we're all pitching in. We're all doing our part. And as more complex jobs have come to our city, our folks have risen to the challenge. Our folks are doing more complex work than their predecessors were doing 5 or 10 or 15 years ago. And how do they see this tonight? What they see happening tonight is somebody's going to come in and skim over the top and dumb everybody else's job down in that chain of command. It's not just Joe Colombo that's filed this grievance. It's a whole bunch of employees who are very concerned about what's going to happen to them. And remember, things are said behind closed doors. Things are said behind closed doors. We don't want those things to come out, but we also want to get this matter settled. We're kind of easy to settle things with. There's a department head in the room that had a gut-wrenching grievance that was going on 7 or 8 months ago. He came before you. I was here that night. We made our presentation. That grievance was going to arbitration, and now we've got it settled. Now that's a smooth-running department. We're going to do the same thing here if you work with us. AFSCME's easy to work with. Just work with us. Just say, how are we going to get this thing settled? We're lucky that we've got Howard Caldwell and Helen Tyler that have been working for the city in working out these things. And Howard's tough to negotiate with, but he's always trying to reach a settlement, and so are we. And so if you put it back in our hands and say, get this thing settled, we're going to get this thing settled. We appreciate the time. We have one more speaker, and if she's ready, we're ready to have her speak.
Honorable Mayor and Council, I'm here tonight on behalf of Joe Colombo as his shop steward, and I would like to present a few items that we've jotted down as the union, how the union feels about the grievance. I do want to say that I want to thank the council for the opportunity to be up here and to give the facts as we see them from our standpoint. And I'd like you to know that the union, Pete Schnaufer, Howard Caldwell, and myself worked diligently to try to get this grievance settled so that it would not come to the council, but unfortunately, it didn't happen. We are going to talk especially totally about the position that is being presented as far as the Public Works Director / City Engineer. I would like to say that you, as a council, act as a hearing board. We trust that all of you can keep an open mind, and I'm sure you can. And if you have any questions, please let us know. At the end of the presentation, we're open to any questions that you would wish to ask. We encourage you to ask questions. And as a reminder, the budget is a live document that may change at any moment, and that is a tool for all of us to use to work together, the city administrator, city council, and city staff. I'd like to also say, by filing this grievance, it is not a personal reflection on our city administrator or on the city council at all. It is strictly a disagreement of the newly proposed position of Public Works Director/City Engineer. I want to commend our city administrator, Ernesto. Ernesto has a vision for this city that is outside the box. And as a free thinker outside the box, he and I can see things a lot of times that maybe others don't. And he wants to enhance the community, as we all do. And that's why you're up there as a council now. We've had great councils over the since 1998. I'd just like to say one little thing about the union. I know this comes up at every meeting, too, about the union and why we're in it. Just a real brief presentation to let the newer council members, which are almost a year old now in the council. Back in the early 80s, 90s, when I became a political activist, I was down at City Hall a lot. And the issue of the employees at that time without a union was very precarious. We had council members, and not all council members, but some that had a hidden agenda. And especially when they became mayor, that hat got real big because the head got big. And if an employee did not do what was requested of the mayor at the time, they were told to find another job or take an early retirement. That's one reason the union was formed. And when it comes to management union, it was the same situation. Kathy Navejas and Leonard Chidas were very instrumental in getting the management union formed in the 90s. It's not going to go away. I've heard comments that the union's too strong, we need to break the union. I know that that's not the comments that are really made. It's comments from individuals sometimes that don't like what's going on. But we are a closed shop, and we are union members. We are united, as you can see tonight by the amount of union members. They are concerned. They are interested in what's going on. Change is good. I have nothing against change. And there's a book in the Bible that I absolutely love, and it's the Old Testament. It's called in Ecclesiastes. It says there is a time for everything, and for everything under heaven there is a purpose. So there is a time to change. Sometimes we tend to want to change things radically and drastically all at one time. But sometimes we need to take a step back and really look at it, because not everyone is on the same page for change. Ernesto gave me a book to read just recently called Who Moved the Cheese, or Who Moved My Cheese. Very good book, extremely good book, small book. I would recommend it to everybody to read, because it talks about change and how some of us can go forward in change, how some of us can kind of like don't want to go forward in change. But it is a very good book. But right now we're going to talk about Joe's position and why he filed the grievance. As Pete did allude to, about 3.5 years ago, the city paid $25,000 to Dr. Nash to do a study. He came in, he interviewed all of us, we filled out a survey, then he talked with all of us, and he made job descriptions. After the job descriptions were done, then it went to the city council. The city council approved the job descriptions. I would like to pass out Joe's job description for the council, if I may, right now, because this will give you more of an overall idea of what his job description is. Thank you, Lucy. And one item that's underlined is business licenses. Now, Joe does not do that anymore. He gave that up willingly because he had one person in his department that was doing business licenses, and it takes more than one person. It is now under the finance department with 3.5 people doing the business licenses. The reason the grievance was filed is because he feels that he is getting a demotion and taking a portion of his job away, which could make a reduction in his earning power should he ever leave the city. Now, I've heard comments to the fact that, well, he's still getting the salary, so what's his problem? Well, the problem is if somebody takes a portion of your job away today and another portion away next year and another portion away the year before after that, are they phasing you out of your job, or are they just phasing you? We don't know. Joe is a man of integrity. He's been here since 1988. The removal of the job title and responsibilities of the city engineer under his department, under his auspice, is, in his feeling, a demotion. One thing Joe did for many years that people may not know about, back in the 90s, when we had the layoffs, Joe brought an air mattress here to work and slept here at night because he was a one-man show. He has done great things for the city. He has been very instrumental, and I say he has done great things. He is the boss. He has several departments under him. And through those, we've done the dead-end street projects, the facade project, beautification program, commercial program, you name them, we've done them. The bingo, he was instrumental in helping us get funding from the bingo that they didn't want to give us. So bottom line, he has done a lot. And to take the city engineer from his department is going to cause a hardship. The Public Works Director title has been brought up twice in the past. In fact, 3 of you council members were on the councils at that time. At that time, it was voted down unanimously 5-0 to not have another department head. The reason being, and I remember Councilmember Schultz's statement, well, we don't need any more chiefs. I'm not saying that this position may not be necessary in the future, because as we grow and as we change, we will have more things that are going to be needed. But at right now, I don't see an issue with this. I see more of a hardship by having this person. The minutes of the June 24th meeting and a memo that was sent out, and I have copies of those if you'd like to have them, reflect that the city administrator said on various occasions that consultants will still be necessary. And I know on the minutes, Councilmember Gomez brought up that, well, this will help to get rid of consultants. But Ernesto said no, and Ernesto was very honest about this. We will still need consultants. Now we're not only going to need consultants in one department, we will need consultants in 2 departments. When we talked about the Public Works Director, in fact, on the memo, it states that one of the things this Public Works Director would be in charge of was AB 939. For those of you who don't know, that is the recycling bill. Joe's department did it for many years, and then about 4 or 5 years ago, the city administrator at the time took it out of Joe's department and asked Robert Salazar to start doing it. So I was talking with Howard Caldwell, and I think he'll remember the conversation, and I said, well, this new Public Works Director / city engineer will be doing the AB 939. He says, oh, no, he'll supervise it. So we're back to a consultant again. Robert's been doing a tremendous job on this AB 939 as far as I know. Yes, we could get in trouble someday because all cities have problems with it, but so far he's been doing a good job on it. But it's constantly, we will need consultants, and that's another issue that I think has possibly brought forth this Public Works Director / city engineer department head. But we will always need consultants. Now, the other thing about this Public Works Director / city engineer is that it's going to be a whole new position. The 2 people that will be his staff at this time would be Juana Hernandez and Tony Barrera. Now, Juana has been doing public safety and homeland security. If she goes into this new position, then someone will have to take the position that she is doing right now. So that means either we give that to another department in here that it's already maybe overworked, which means possibly another person to be hired. They're going to have to learn a whole new career, because to work for a Public Works Department engineer, they're going to have to know technical things. It's not just going in and being a secretary. Now, in the minutes, it does reflect that if we ever even get the position hired, because two things that need to be done. One, if you take away any positions out of the union per se, taking away a part of a job description, the union is supposed to meet and confer. They did not do that. I believe, I don't know if that's the city administrator prerogative to do that. I'm not familiar with that. The second is, we have to meet and confer as a union to come up with a salary for this individual if they're ever hired. The engineer has always been in the CDD area. One reason is because if you come to City Hall today and you need something that the engineer can look at, he's right there to look at it. They call him out of his office. Right now we have a consultant that they call him out of his office. He'll come out, he will discuss the things. If this person is a department head, he will be overseen. Will he be available to come out and meet with the residents or not? We don't know. Will he be able to come out and meet with staff on a daily basis? We don't know. Generally, if he's a department head, he's going to be doing staff reports, he's going to be involved in a lot of other areas, and will not be available to meet with the residents. Right now, we have one-stop shopping here. The people bring in their information, they bring in their plans. A lot of things can be done over the counter. If the Public Works Director engineer is hired, it won't be one-stop shopping anymore, and will our residents suffer from it? I don't know. These are all variables. We don't know. But as a department head, he will be more involved with running a department than talking to the residents. So we don't know if it's going to be able to meet the needs or not. And I could bring back again the constant consultant thing. We will need consultants. We totally need consultants. Now, another issue that this new person would be willing to do or will be able to do, or one of his job descriptions, is capital improvement projects. Now, I'm going to pass out another flyer. This was requested by the city administrator of Richard Wilson, who is our consultant right now, the engineer consultant, because it shows that for the most part, our funding was low. This was done just before the budget session to show that our funding was not what we thought it was going to be. And so most of our projects have been put out to about 2014 or 2015. We're putting money away for projects, but they're not really in the area that we need them right now. So the only thing we have right now that we would need to finish up is the dead-end streets and the Fetty Sports Complex. And at the last I heard, which may have changed now, is that the ABC Unified School District will be handling the sports complex, and we're going to be kind of the second in line with the sports complex, and that can change tomorrow too, because it's been going back and forth. We don't know. So we have just had, right now, like I said, this department head, in my way of thinking as a resident, as a union member, and as an employee, is not the time to hire a department head. Now, you as the council made the choice to put this person on as in part of our new budget. And you as a council, if you chose, could change that. We also have, in most cities, if they have an engineer, a city, you know what the title is. Anyway, if they have that, they have assistants, and they have staff that's already trained. And as I said, we're going to have staff that's learning a whole new career. So this person may be doomed from the day they walk in the door. I don't know. I'm talking about variables again. What we need right now is a city engineer. We need to either hire a city engineer, or we need to have a consultant city engineer on call. Now, I'm going to pass out one more thing, because we did kind of a breakdown of the cost for the city engineer, the public works director engineer, and consultants. Because bottom line, it comes down to money. Is it cost effective to hire this individual? And it's going to take a long time, because where we haven't even met and conferred over the salary, and probably will not ever come to terms on the salary, it's going to have to go to different lengths to even fly this position. So if there's any questions on that, this one is done to give you kind of an idea of our consulting engineer, the assistant, the combination consultants, city engineer, and the public works director / city engineer. And the figures we think are as close to as we can get them at the present time. Now, if we're hiring a city public works director, city engineer at $220,000, and we can hire an engineer at $132,000, to me, it'd be more cost-effective to hire the city engineer, leave him where he's at, and use the rest of the money, which we would not need the rest of the money for consultant fees. One thing we need to also talk about is consultants that we've had in the past. 2 years ago, we did have a council member who had a lot of high-range projects that he wanted done in the city. When he retired, they were forgotten for the present time. They're not gone, but they've been pushed to the back until 2014, 2018, whatever we can do. But at that time, we were hiring consultants at high fees because we had a lot of projects going. But as a project ends, the consultant ends also. Joe's department has done away with consultants. He is doing a cost savings to the city. We will be doing away, we have right now 2 building inspectors that are consultants. When the city hires a building inspector, then we will have that one position as a hired person. As the projects end and completed, we do away with the consultants. As soon as the library is done, Richard Wilson will no longer be a consultant here. He needs to finish the library. We have, the things that we have going right now are already in the works. The dead-end streets, the Fetty Complex. Those are the only 2 that we really have going, and the Fetty Complex is going to be done in phases. We cannot afford to pay for the Fetty Complex up front. So bottom line, we look at it that, and the council's made it very clear that both departments are doing a great job, that there's no reflection on either department. And I know that this would help our city administrator in his endeavors to further promote the city. But sometimes, as I said, there is a season. Sometimes the season is not right now. Maybe in 2 years, when we get more money involved and things change, maybe that's a season to do it. Right now, what we need tremendously is a city engineer. Now, you as a council, in the past, councils usually just say, well, we'll just send this on to arbitration, which that is your right to do. In the 80s and early 90s, the councils did make decisions, and but it is up to you. But I see 3 things that you can do. One, you could send this position back for reevaluation as to whether the need of the position of the Public Works Department / city engineer. Number 2, you can send it on to arbitration, which will not happen for at least 8 to 10 months, which means this will be holding out till probably sometime next summer. Or what we, the union, would really request is to remove the Public Works Director and hire a full-time city engineer to be kept on in the Community Development Department. And if you choose to rescind this position, this is not a reflection on the city administrator or the city council, because the city council sets the policies. And together with the city administrator, department heads, and staff, we will work to implement whatever goals and objectives we can to continue making our city better. And we want to improve the quality of life for our community. And I thank you so very much. Need help, Joe?
Is this an open session? Can members of the...
Okay, no.
Madam Mayor, I recommend that we adjourn to closed session in accordance with Government Code 54956.9 to consider the step 3 of the grievance.
Okay.
We're going to do that now,
We're going to do that now.
or are we going to continue on? We have
We're
to
going to
do
do it now.
Okay.
Madam Mayor, members of the City Council, the City Council did conduct a duly authorized closed session pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9, Subdivision B regarding exposure to litigation. The council did take a action which requires publication. At this time, the council, on a vote of 5-0, voted to deny the grievance filed by Joseph Colombo, Community Development Director, filed on July 17, 2008, at which time now the next step will be arbitration. And that concludes my presentation with respect to council action. And Madam Mayor, would you like to say anything?
Yes, I would like to let the union know that if they want to meet with me and another council member if you have any questions about this position, and also to let you know that your jobs are not in jeopardy. I know Public Works has worked very hard. I see you out there, and I think you're doing a great job. I also want to make a comment that, and I'm sure I'm not just speaking for myself, the other council members will speak up too, is that I am 100% behind our city administrator. And I'd like...
So am I.
So if the union would like to meet with me and another council member, if you have any questions and concerns, that I'm willing to meet with you.
I think that they needs to be understood that we are a council that is united in one thing. We want to get a city moving forward, and we need to give our backing to the man we hired to do this for us and not try to second-guess everything that he does. So we're united behind him and his efforts to try and make that effort for us and see the city move ahead. So we're not going to do what we've done in the past and just arbitrarily say, well, you're going to have to change or we're going to fire you. That ain't going to happen this time. I'm 100% behind the man, and so are the rest of us here. So.
I'd like to just add, the city administrator has been hired to manage the city, the day-to-day operations, and he has a vision for the direction he'd like to see the city go. And we believe that we need to back him up and allow him to complete that vision. He says, if you allow me to do the types of what I'd like to do, the direction I'd like to go, which I think will benefit the city the most, it's going to be on my back. That's what he's told me, and so it's up to him to succeed or fail. We can't, cut him down, his feet from under him and stop him midway through the process. So, we just feel we have to support him. And there, as said before, there's nobody up here feels that any of the employees are not performing up to the standards that we hope to have the city set. Because I think you've been rewarded, for your work, and you will continue to be rewarded for your work, and you'll be supported, by all of us up here. So anybody shouldn't feel that this is any way a knock on their performance. It's not. It's just a vision that Ernesto has that he thinks may benefit the city, and we're going to go with him and we'll hope for the best.
Like everyone else here, we're definitely in support of Ernesto's thoughts, his actions, and his vision. I can't say that I'm a city administrator. I don't have the experience, but that's why we rely upon someone who's specialized in that, who has the background and the knowledge to make the day-to-day operations in order to make the city function as it has. And we want to continue, making the city progress forward. We don't want to hinder the process of what's going on here. I mean, obviously, from a visual perspective, things are taking place. We're moving forward. And, we have to entrust in, people's decisions and, hope that these decisions are going to be the right ones, in order to make the city just continue forward. And, I hope that by making these decisions, it doesn't, I guess, it doesn't damper the attitude are the environment within, the city in terms of the staff. I mean, you guys are doing a great job. Obviously, the city looks great. You can see a lot of change. It's clean, and that is a lot due to Public Works in terms of what they're doing. I commend you guys for being out there every day. It's being noticed. So it's not like your work isn't being recognized. So I'm just, like I said, just support Anessa's decision. And, I'm sure that, the city will progress and will be where we want to be in the future, so.
And I'd also like to make a comment about our capital improvement. I think as a council member, we have the responsibility to look at the future of our city, even if we're not sitting in this position in a couple of years.
Because this little city's on the move. We have come a long ways.
Well, talking about the capital improvements part of it and everything, yes, we have to look ahead, and we have to think about 10 to 15 years in the future for this city. And hopefully that these projects that we're thinking of, we know we're not going to complete them at this time, right now, because we don't have the funding available. But we can have them there and have them ready to go when the funding becomes available. This is the whole idea of planning for the future. So some of these capital projects that people have been unhappy about in the past and everything are not taking place and not going to, because the money's just not there. But some of the other projects that we still have the capital for are going to be completed and are being completed. And that's how we do it, folks. We watch our budget, try to watch it very closely. So.
Okay. Okay, let's go to F, oral staff reports.
Just a reminder to the City Council and the residents of the community that the city will be celebrating Mexican Independence Day by providing an event this Sunday, September 14th, at Ferguson Elementary School from 12 p.m. to 9 p.m. We'll have live entertainment, music, as well as dancing, various contests, children's activities, and lots of food. So we hope to see the community out there on Sunday.
Steve, can you also give a little report on our 9/11 ceremony?
Yes, this Thursday, the city will take a moment to remember the victims of 9/11 at two different times. At 8:30 in the morning, we'll gather in the flagpole area between City Hall and the C. Robert Lee Activity Center. And at approximately 8:46, we'll have a moment of silence and have light refreshments afterwards. And then also later that morning at 11:30, the Senior Center will conduct a similar ceremony. So all of the city staff and residents are invited to attend.
I just want to mention to you, Steve, that I won't be able to make it in the morning, but I will go to the Senior Center.
Great, thank you.
Okay.
Is there any other staff reports? David?
The city's financial report for the fiscal year ended June 30th, 2007 qualified for a Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting. This is third year in a row. I'm very pleased to notify City Council that the Certificate of Achievement is the highest form of the recognition in governmental accounting and financial reporting.
Good. So thank you, David, for doing a good job.
Yeah, congratulations.
Yeah.
Okay, G, oral council reports. I'd like to mention the city had the city employee picnic, and I was able to attend. And it was great. I mean, there was a lot of activities for the children, a lot of activities for the adults, and it was a beautiful day. The food was great. I'm sorry that Alma fell down.
You didn't have to.
They were playing tug of war, and the rope broke.
Mama, did you sign the waiver?
But I'm glad to see that there was employees that really enjoyed themselves and to see the family. I was able to meet some of the family, children, the grandchildren, and it was a great event.
I'd like to just remind everybody that this Thursday at 6 p.m. also we're having our first workshop for the Teen Enrichment Program. And again, this is a program for teenagers that live in the city with their parents. We want their parents to attend the meetings as well. And the first seminar is going to be on college applications and financial aid. One of the counselors from Artesia High School will come and give the presentation. And there also will be refreshments, I'm sure, and raffle prizes. And this is the first of monthly workshops we'll be having. So we encourage all the teenagers to come out and bring your parents, because there will be prizes on down the road for attendance. And we do really wish to see as many parents there as possible. Thank you.
Any more oral council reports?
Mayor, can I give one more staff
Sure.
report, please? As of today, I believe at approximately 4 p.m., there's still no state budget adopted, and the governor is still pursuing our redevelopment agency funds to try and offset the budget. So just an update there on the state budget.
Gee, surprise, surprise.
Oh, no.
67 days now, something like that.
It's a record.
I would like to point out one thing. The sergeant took a few of us out today. The radio car that we ordered a while back that will show up any stolen vehicles by license or anything like that, plus that vehicle could be used for many other purposes too, so other crime-fighting purposes and everything, is now here in our parking lot. Will be. And I believe it starts going into use as of tomorrow. They've been training on it for the last few days and everything, so it'll be in use and be well worth the money spent for it in recovery and everything. So, because other cities have recovered, I don't know how many different vehicles just because of that one vehicle patrolling their cities. So.
Okay. We'll adjourn to the next regular city council meeting to be held on Tuesday, September 23rd, 2008 at 6 o'clock p.m. We're not done, Patty.
It's an artesian mailing address for Bellflower.
Okay, call to order. Community Redevelopment Agency, Tuesday, September 6th. September 9th, 2008.
I was going to say, did I?
I feel like I'm in...
It's been a long night.
Yeah. Yes. Okay, roll call, please.
Director Hickerman?
Here.
Director Farfan?
Here.
Director Gomez?
Here.
Vice Chairmember Schultz?
Here.
Chairmember Canada?
Here.
Motion gate. There's a quorum.
Oh, yes, it has been one of those nights.
Okay, oral communications, items on and not on the agenda. This is a time reserved for members of the public wishing to speak on the agenda items on and not on the agenda. This period will be limited to 3 minutes per speaker. Maximum time allocated is 15 minutes. Upon conclusion of oral communications, the agency board of staff, at the direction of the chair, may respond to any questions or statements that were presented by members of the public. The agency board is prohibited by law from taking any action on items presented during oral communications.
Ronaldo Rodriguez, 21402 Juan Avenue. First of all, I'd like to commend the council, mayor, for the decision you made tonight, because I cannot understand why a member or a union would try to stop anybody from hiring another person. All my years in the IAM and the UAW union, which is over 40 years, we always welcome new employees, especially if somebody's going to take some of the workload of Mr. Colombo. I would be very happy to do that. As far as experience, I know Mrs. Sue Underwood said, well, it might take time to train this person, but everybody in here at one time when they came in here were not trained for what they're doing now, and now they're doing a job. So that's no excuse. So I think the problem here is that Mr. Colombo is afraid to lose the grip, the power that he has in this government. So I want to thank the city council members for making a good decision there. Now back to the library. I'm looking at the construction items here, and the total budget for that was $7,740,145 dollars. Excuse me. Land and building costs was $3,350,000. Attorney fees, $850,000. So just the land and the building cost was $4,200,000. What was the estimate at the beginning? $2 million? So it more than double, and I'm pretty sure that it's even more than what stated in here. So I'm not going to say too much, but I would also like to bring up the subject about the information that I have applied for and I never got. It's kind of a sign of somebody's trying to hide things from the residents of this community. That's what it seems like when you ask for information and nobody gives it to you. And this is under the Freedom of Information Act. So there is ways of getting it. We can find ways of getting it legally. So I would like for at least one or two members of the city council to investigate this construction items, this amount paid. If that's actually the amount that was paid, have anybody seen the actual receipts, the check stubs, or whatever it is that goes, the construction companies and the subcontractors? Has anybody up there seen those? Or are you just going by what you see here? And I also like to make a comment on Mayor Canada. I have always seen her. When there's a function out there, she is there. And I would like to thank her for that because the community appreciates having somebody from this council in some of these functions that we have. Thank you.
Madam Chair.
Yes, would you please?
If I could comment on on one of the requests that Mr. Rodriguez had. Mr. Rodriguez had requests or wants to request copies or information with respect to individuals or the recipients of those grants, that the city sponsored grants, as well as the amounts. And he initially said 2 years. He wants to go back 3 years. I had a conversation with Mr. Rodriguez on Friday. Is that correct, Mr. Rodriguez? Yes. I told him that that information is a public record. I've discussed it with the city administrator, and I did send an email to the city clerk saying that should Mr. Rodriguez ask for that information should be compiled and given to him. So for the record, that information is a public record, and Mr. Rodriguez is entitled to it.
Okay.
Right. So it's if it takes up to 10 days to compile the information, we'll get that to him. And Mr. Rodriguez, please give me a call, or I will call you in the next maybe 10 days, and we will ensure that the information is packaged together for you as you requested.
Thank you.
Okay, seeing no one else. Public hearing, no public hearing at this time. B, resolutions. B1, adopt resolution number 2008-024 to approve pre-issue warrants and regular warrants in the amount of $30,575.43.
Move to waive further reading, adopt resolution 2008-024.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Director Hickerman?
Yes.
Director Farfan?
Yes.
Director Gomez?
Yes.
Vice Chairmember Schultz?
Yes.
Chairmember Canada?
Yes.
Motion carries.
C, discussion items. C1, presentation of minutes.
Move it.
Second.
Oh, you want the date, huh?
Let me read it real quick. August 26, 2008, regular meeting.
Again, move it.
Any discussion? Everyone in favor? D, new business. E, closed session.
None, Madam Chair.
F, oral staff reports.
We are going to have a short 7-minute, I hope, presentation.
Okay.
We are.
From our consultant, yeah. Ben Martinez with Avant-Garde is going to do just a brief report
Okay.
on some of what he's been doing for us in reference to redevelopment. So. I'm sorry we made you wait.
Maybe, maybe not. The computer might not be working anymore.
It was waiting too long.
Burned out.
Like a lot of computers, they use their own prerogative. I'll work if I want to.
What's over there? Oh, the screen was on standby?
There it is.
There it is.
But I don't think we have a connect. It's a little bit complicated. Yeah. I think after the time that elapsed, the computer turned off. Is that? And then. No,
I can't count
no.
how many times sometimes I.
But it's not showing up, is it?
Yeah.
Of course, I'm still working under 98.4.
There it is. Oh, there it is. Okay. So I just push this. Okay, great. Great. Madam Chair, Commissioners, Board members of the Redevelopment Agency, I am Benjamin Martinez. Please call me Ben when you see me around if you have any questions. I am here Tuesdays and Wednesdays and Thursdays, 2 days a week, Tuesdays always, Wednesdays and Thursdays interchangeably, depending on the workload and what's happening. I wanted to give a presentation tonight very briefly on redevelopment basics. Just a quick presentation to start the dialogue on redevelopment, and we'll carry this on, into the future. And then at the very end, give just a very brief presentation on an important project that I'm working on your behalf, and the executive director of the agency. Redevelopment, what is it? Redevelopment is legislation that essentially was created to remove blight in cities. And I don't know if the board members and staff, how much you have been able to attend the trainings on redevelopment that are offered. I encourage you to attend those. They happen on an annual basis around Southern California area, put on by the California Redevelopment Association. But the basic premise of redevelopment, we always need to remember, is to remove blight. We want to be working, we want to be doing things in the areas of the city that need assistance and from the agency, but for the agency's assistance, projects and economic development would not be able to proceed. And that's very important because we're all although you're an agency and you're a city, we're a state of redevelopment, California redevelopment, and our practices and the way we do business we need to monitor ourselves constantly so that we keep, a good record of redevelopment, and we continue this into the future. So it's very important to remember that. As I mentioned, it's governed by California Community Redevelopment Law through the Health and Safety Code, and it's a cooperative effort between redevelopment agencies and the private sector. Essentially, redevelopment is just a refocusing of property taxes. We all pay our property taxes, all the homeowners and the businesses, property owners in the city pay property taxes. Redevelopment is essentially a refocusing of those taxes to stimulate redevelopment and economic development in the city. Our project area, I was talking to Mr. Colombo, our project area, we were talking about how it's quite old. It's enacted in the 70s, starting to reach its life, so to speak. So one of the things that you could consider doing in the future is looking at reenacting that and extending that plan. But all we're doing is simply that. We're just redirecting taxes. And, if it wasn't going to redevelopment, more would go to the county, to school districts, and otherwise. But this is something that, was put into effect many years ago and has been very successful. How do we spend redevelopment, or what are the activities? We issue bonds, which this city has done in the past. Redevelopment, a lot of cities have gotten into specific planning. So beyond your general plan of the city, many cities have undertaken specific planning. Specific planning is in response to more specific development and timelines and visions for the city. And also, it goes a little bit it steps a little bit farther into changes in economy and so forth in the city. The biggest point about specific planning is that it provides a vision for when development is going to occur. It provides a more specific picture and guideline to the development community when they come to the city to understand the city's vision. That's accomplished through the general plan. And this specific planning type of exercise would not conflict, it cannot conflict with the general plan. But as we can talk about in the future, I'm just generally talking about tonight, specific planning is a tool that has really helped a lot of cities achieve their goals more quickly. And we can talk about that more in the future. Some of the basics of redevelopment, property acquisition, and obviously the city has bought land and resold it. The city has been involved in affordable housing. You can build affordable housing for families and seniors, public improvements. Lesser known is that redevelopment is a very powerful tool to clean up property, contaminated property. And I haven't gotten into, again, a deep understanding of those contamination issues in the city, but a very powerful tool, redevelopment, to clean up properties. It's called the Polanco Act, and we can, again, talk about that more in the future. I just wanted to point out a quick project done in another city in San Diego County, one I worked on many years ago. To give an example of how redevelopment works. This was an area that was blighted in a city, 2-block area. It had already been closed. And many of the redevelopment tools were used here to make a successful project. There was a gasoline station here for many years with leaking tanks. They used that Polanco Act and also the condemnation power of the city to clean up that property and move it across the street. So that property actually continued its business across the street. This land had been acquired by the agency and sat there for many, many years. It was finally put into play when you see the eventual project. There was an adult theater here, one of the last Pussycat adult theaters there. That was acquired and taken out. Yeah, I did the tour before. There was a VFW post. There was a pawn shop in this corner. There was an automobile used car lot, a dry cleaner, which also contained heavy solvents in the soils, another major cleanup issue at the site. What did redevelopment do for this center of this city that wanted to bring in customers for their restaurants, and life to the street? It consolidated this entire block and brought it together. And it took many years. Any good redevelopment project worth taking on takes 5 to 10 years. It usually, it outlives the life of board members. So it's the type of thing that takes, a long time and a commitment by an agency. But look at the beautiful project here in this instance. 2 or 3 major educational institutions were brought together onto a site. One building here, another building here. Retail development was built on the ground floor of that, and about a 500 car park or structured parking garage was built. And it really breathed life into this area of, again, this was a small city, about the same size as this city. This couldn't have happened without redevelopment, clearly. So redevelopment wants to be where visions are not going to be possible by the public sector alone or the private sector. And that's where redevelopment comes into play, when you do a joint project. There's another shot of it. Redevelopment plan, this is really sort of dry stuff, but we know that in general, it outlines the authorities and responsibilities of the agency, the boundaries, which in this city, of course, is the entire city. It provides all the rules and regulations for property owners and businesses and tenants, goals and objectives, and how to finance projects, and how to, again, set aside a portion of the money for affordable housing, which is 20% of the tax increment. Redevelopment plan is not, doesn't take the place of the general plan, or it's not a zoning regulation or building code. It doesn't increase property taxes. It shouldn't, and it does not prohibit property owners from investing and reinvesting in their properties. Redevelopment is financed through tax increment revenue. I think I have a chart here. So when Hawaiian Gardens set their project area and their redevelopment plan back in the 70s, they essentially, talked to the county and said, we're going to freeze this tax area right here. Our tax base is going to be frozen here in let's say that's 1970. Certainly, since 1970, there's been incremental value in that property tax. Houses and properties have been bought and sold and rised in value. Tax increment, which is what we receive as an agency, is just the difference between that. It's that blue area. So you set the base year, you freeze a tax base, and as it rises up, you get a portion of the difference, which is the incremental increase. And I have a little example here. If Mr. Smith owns property valued at $100,000 this year, and Mrs. Smith, and her taxes paid at the rate of 1%, which is the percent charged to redevelopment, would be $1,000. $100,000 home, $1,000. 5 years later, Mrs. Smith sells her property to Mr. Roberts at a price of $500,000. The taxes would be paid by Mr. Roberts at the same rate, because that changes, that's a constant. That would be $5,000. So tax increment is just the difference between $1,000 and $5,000, which is $4,000. So redevelopment pays for itself. It's not a new tax. It pays for itself, and we want to be successful in redevelopment because it continues to fuel itself. And sometimes concessions are made in redevelopment. If you look at redevelopment from just a real estate-based development, some people would say, well, you're giving away the store. But sometimes when you give away the store, you subsidize development, it pays back. So that's a hour conversation, but it should pay for itself. And a breakdown of the revenue, housing set aside, we have to still pay some of the tax increment to other agencies, and some of the tax increment stays with the city, and that's just a dollar bill. We have to set aside 20% for housing, and the other portion goes to taxing agencies, and the rest stays with the agency. That's just a brief presentation on redevelopment basics, and I just wanted to mention one of the major projects I'm working on right now in relation to the Dead End Street project is that the city is under a time frame to replace 18 homes that were removed. And I'll be bringing at the next agenda an agenda staff report and agenda item for your review and consideration to issue an RFP to replace 10 homes on agency-owned parcels that you, the agency, have already bought and control. Approximately. These aren't positive numbers yet, around 10. And then the plan, not right away, but over a certain period of time, would be to purchase another 8 homes. So that would replace the 10 and the 8 would replace the 18 that we, by law, have to replace. Very important. That could affect the status of our agency if you didn't do that. These homes will have to be made affordable to low-income families because the homes that were removed contained low-income families. So we'll make sure we do that. That's the end of my presentation, and if you have any questions, I can respond. Thank you.
Yeah, I have a question. The question of the library costs brought up earlier the question I want to know is, was that money come from redevelopment money?
Yes, it did. Yeah. Councilmember Gomez, yes, some money did come from a bond issuance. I don't have the exact figure, but we can definitely provide you with that, at the next meeting if you'd like. Okay. And we can go over how we used redevelopment in that instance to offset some of the costs.
Okay.
And
good.
I can just add very quickly to that, that is absolutely a legal usage of redevelopment monies for public purpose projects like that. And so, although someone might think that redevelopment dollars only have to be spent towards private types of developments, no, it can be used for public facilities such as that project. So.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay. We're on this one.
Yeah.
Okay. G, oral agency reports. None? Okay, we will adjourn to the next regular Community Redevelopment Agency meeting to be held on Tuesday, September 23rd, 2008 at 6 p.m.